the Warlock, and I'm making a video that I didn't think I was gonna make a video that was. It's not sort of positive, but it's positive in the sense that I'm not dwelling on anything personal, and that's why people should understand blurring the line between personal and morphically, or more. I don't know if people understand what a morphic field is. It's like the sense of community, the sense of that we know that sociopolitically on the internet, everybody could connect in so many ways, so many applications, so many internet things, and it's getting more technological and more invasive, even if you want to look at it in a bit of a negative way. And a lot of people, obviously, on the internet, they talk about different things happening on the planet. Some of them, it looks always, to the person that disagrees with what someone's doing, it looks totally negative and polarized, even if that person's coming from a place of centered, harmonious, loving balance. And then sometimes even people that are spiritual, myself included, I wouldn't like to think I feel it. And that's the thing, is that whenever, it's not that we lower ourselves, and I always go back to that saying that Buddhist monks tell people that go see them, you guys have so much of a hard time meditating where you live, because how can you reconnect through your essence when you're always associating with an external thing? If you ever see anything about, especially if you go see a doctor, what they write, I'm staying on that, it's all about perception, it's all about acceptance or denial, and they ask you questions. Now already when someone asks you questions, do you have to answer? Whatever way you answer, they could turn it into something that suits them. Makes me think also of something I saw. It was a short, I think, but it's also in explanations, and it says, if there's to hurt a person that's weak, and weak, they don't mean obviously the physical, musculoskeletal system or health in general, like, but they mean mostly character and petty, or just how sensitive or how fragile you are, in the sense that sovereign. When someone says weak or strong, we mean in sovereignty, in knowing who you are. And if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, if anybody has seen whether the videos a bit with testimonials or a bit teaching about spirituality, which is the ones that I usually don't talk at, I just let the person, I share. Sometimes I write share, sometimes I don't, but it's obvious you see the person's channel, it's a share. And it's the ones I put are more like the way I would have explained it, or the way I even learned something from a lot of them. And sometimes I'm not going to go back to details, but the point is, they say, if you want to insult or bother a weak person, well, you simply say the truth. But for spiritual people, that's a compulsion. So whether the person is strong or weak, you say the truth. When you want to, though, bother a good person or a strong person, what do? Take a guess. Lie, or fabricate lies, or twist the truth, which is always basically lying. So this is the sad part about does anybody hear bagpipes in the bagpipes? No, bagpipes. So a bit of speech impediments. I just that's it. So it's something that I try not to be repetitive. I'm trying right now, and I'm trying to not even say anything. See, that's my kind of like focus right now. I want to focus on the global economy. No, I cannot go there. It's too difficult. Global politics, even more difficult. Global conflicts. Oh my God. Everything is polarized and from a point of view. And you're either on one side or the other. But I still am from the firm belief, and people think that sometimes, especially since I don't know how many months, instead of like at some point things, it's not that things are that much better, it's that I'm recognizing that I could come from a place of harmony and not polar vision. Because even if you're evolved spiritually, you still feel pain, you still see and are saddened by suffering. And even though you know that ultimately it's a game, and we're creating that suffering just to experience something different than perfection. And I know it seems a bit like a wishful thinking, or But when you actually, it's like the last video I put, or the last two of them, that had to do a lot with Jesus and religion, and how it's like the internet picks up on words that I say in videos when I said it's totally edited, and it's like, they said it doesn't even look like the original scriptures, what you see in the Bible. And that's how they use it to, and I don't know why I didn't see this before. Anything religious, whether it's Christianity or other, it's about worshiping, bowing to God. And in some form, you bow to everybody equally, but not to an extreme point. And everybody is respectable. Like when you see that famous half bow with the hands of a person on a spiritual path, it's not a religious thing. It's not a, like when you say in court, your honor. I don't say it anymore, and that's the whole point. Nobody has to be honored more than another person. So you show equal. Like I feel this. I don't know if it's in concordance with scriptures, not Bibles. And you do a half bow and you put your hands together. You unite your polar opposites, your depolarized soul, because the only time your soul will feel human and weak is when you see one point of view. You only see, I'm right, you're wrong. When you do that, at some level, in spiritual terms, I'm not saying in conflict and conflict resolution on 3D, you have to take sides and you have to stand your ground when you think something is away from truth. And truth is one, whether it's spiritual or physical. That's why I say that's where you get karma, because you could choose. Just like right now, you could choose to do something that's against the human laws, or laws that we sort of created, and we could change and we could modify to the betterment or worsening of society. Just like a lot of people disagree with the pandemic, what started happening after the pandemic, that was more visually proven that the intentions of government are not always for our benefit, though they say, we're concerned. We think this is better not to cause that, to make things healthier, then you have to do that. And when it's too much nonsensical and that they could do something that's less invasive or less authoritarian, they choose always the more extreme control, and that's their insecurity. I think it's not all about world domination and like the empire strikes back, or the empire. No, it's not. It's hard to say, because only the people that are polarized know how far they're willing to go. And the human experience could be extremely bad, as we're seeing with the wars now, so much dying. People know it's not going to go anywhere. Whether it's nuclear weapons that instantly destroy the planet and most life on it, animal and human, then there's the extreme that say, well, you do this, I do that. Tit for tat, tit for tat. You get more weapons, then they get funding from another source, and no, because you need food and weapons to create a war and to continue a war. And it's just horrible, horrible. I could put it in a song. Like I could put everything I try to say. It's not easy to get along, but it's even harder to know that whatever you did was just for the experience of pain. Everything I see now on the news, everything I see now, and even things going back to testimony, everything I've lived through was not necessary. Maybe in some ways it was a choice, but the hardship part was not necessary. If somebody refuses to get triggered and refuses to torment or hurt someone, whether it's in a war, whether it's what created the documents, created lies, and when the lies are so big, that's so out of context, and so that you could basically say whatever you want about someone and write it on paper. And if the government or anybody agrees, it's the truth. And so even when it comes to technically how a plane functions, and now they're saying even they want to reverse engineer flying saucers, and that's another thing, flying saucers, psychic phenomena. There's so much witnesses that worked in the government that touched alien artifacts, or some of them that even knew someone that did experiments on the real aliens, that one was dead, one was kept alive. This is what they say. And again, there's no 100% proof on anything. But why would that many people, 300 people testify, or not all of them testified, but quite a few of them in courts? And this is the thing. Everything that's magical, everything like, now even with all the paperwork declassified, it's like even now, Bigfoot. Some people say that they see him. They say it's impossible. It's like we're trying to ridiculize. We're trying to make, like when someone is not feeling well and is dizzy or seeing like stars, like literally you could see stars if you, something with the blood in the brain, and or even when somebody has some kind of hallucination, that's a biological dysfunction. Why do we have to, even if it is, of course, people that have unbalances in the brain directly, it's harder to make them be independent. And that's where they transfer that. And that's where I remember, and this I will say about my file or what the doctor said. Oh, but it doesn't matter if it comes from the brain or if it comes from the environment. If you're stressed, then we're going to treat you as a psych. That is, so many things were criminal. And then on papers, I see that, oh no, that wasn't done when there was an actual criminal act being done. I don't want to say what, but that's the thing is, because I'm not here. I've done it. I went too far before other testimonials with what I was living, because I had to go there because I wasn't given a choice. And now what happened with the hospital, it's like I'll take the good instead of just dwelling on the little bad that they did, because that was part of the system. And people could be nice but still follow a very bad system. And all I'll say is that some things seem, when I say seem to be getting better, is because I don't know if people are just waiting, scheming. It's like a lot of things in my life I thought were getting better. So I don't count on what other people do. I am always trying to get better, whether I'm even physically free or not. But all I could say is that there's so much corruption and so much sneaky plans. And whether they get better or not is the choice of the individuals that know that doing wrong, it doesn't matter if you're from a government official or a policing or doctor. When you do wrong, just like the last video I put, it's like pressing that button on a vending machine. You get the karma back. It might not come right away. It's not like the vending machine is an example, but it puts in that flow of energy. It puts in, just like when you send hate or love to someone, it reaches them despite the bill C-63. Even if that wasn't there, you can't hate someone and get away with it, because when you hate someone, you will be hated. It goes practically equal. And when I say, when it's directed towards a spiritual person that tries to not only not be polarized themselves, but tries to explain, tries to improve, and tries to tell you, please don't hurt me, and does it in a very harmonious, kind, and unpolarized way most of the time. Maybe sometimes they could be triggered too. I myself am a spiritual person. If you look at my testimonials, are perfect examples of what I'm saying. I had to improve, even though sometimes the trauma and the attacks on me, whether they weren't attacked with guns, it doesn't matter, but it still were attacks. I had to have more pressure. I had to deal, and it's not that it's in the past, will have to, or am. It's regardless. This video could be any one of them, but that's like I say, I always put videos and say, hey, if I don't make videos in a couple of months and my videos are still different, it's like something went south. And that's the thing, is because people really, just like, for example, what does love have to do with who you're sharing your love of your soul? And if you think like, I'm just repeating Pete Repet a bit, like now, not too much details of testimonials, but what other people that were spiritual that I shared their content, they say, you know, if you think yourself as half a person, you say, well, if I don't have this amount of money or this amount of people loving me, or a personal person that loves me, like, you know, in my life, a partner, then something is wrong with me, you know? But no, it is not like that. It is not like that. We shouldn't be triggered to feel the connection with basically our essence. And like I said, the most horrible person, Hitler in the past, obviously, because I don't want to speak in the present, because people take it like you're taking sides. So, but the most cruel person inside, they were trying to reach for that state of happiness, that state of, not perfection, but yeah, close. Everybody's trying to get energy, trying to feel powerful. And it's a natural instinct. The fact of believing in magic, and then what does government do, and in schools, and anything to do with psychic powers, flying saucers, they discredit that, or anything to do with a quantum physics science, which now quantum physics has come first full circle, and the CIA investigations for the paranormal, secret, or whatever, people that investigate the flying saucers have gone to see that they've discovered people that are trying to come out, even though they were legally obligated to shut up, like a lot of people. And I don't want to say it's what I've lived, that I've been literally told, shh. We all know that if you see my past videos. So everything is about silence, twisting what facts were happening. A lot of people think there's a pyramid underwater. Regardless of how factual things that you research are, every time someone steps out of the norm, out of the narrative of what's on TV and of what they teach in schools, you're crazy. But that's why they say there's a big mental problem. So now if you say something that's out of the ordinary or even improbable, they have reason to always try to control you or punish you. And it's disgusting. It's just so horrible that the world functions on lies and manipulation constantly, bigger than the country's laws or religions or whatever, because religion is not functional, not directly. There's still that. Right now, spirituality of the past is the religion of the present. People reach for spirituality first by going to religions, and it shouldn't be that way. And even like Aaron Apke, just watch him on the facts as his origins. His father was a preacher. It's complicated. I'm not trying to remember the details, but you see that it's always about bowing down, worshiping, being less, being separate from God, hoping one day He remembers us. It's totally ridiculous. It's like saying, can any cell in my body forget that it's part of me? No, not vibrationally, not harmoniously in the deep, intersecting, etheric field of spiritual, magnetic, however, because it's hard to explain, but it's simple to feel. And that's why a lot of people say you cannot teach spirituality. You can only experience it. That's the difficult. You could give some code words for people to follow, little code words. And like I said, it's sad because I'm starting to say maybe some people do believe in karma, but some people hide it, or some people want to deny it to themselves so they could keep being with their addiction. Any bad behavior or addiction that you don't accept that you have is just a hindrance to your spiritual progress. And eventually, the pain and suffering of repeating, whether it's repeating patterns in your life or repeating patterns with reincarnation, and some people still don't believe in reincarnation. It's not that I believe it or not. It makes sense, because how can you right now end your body and resonate? That's why this is a learning machine. What we have here is a learning machine with much more potential than we think, and we're much more powerful, even on 3D, than we think. And then also that is taught in schools, and that the government allows us to believe, because there's a morphic field of ignorance too, of brainwashing, of dissonance, of separation consciousness, of bowing to the manipulative military complex. Yes, and I love the way some people explain it, because whether it's police or government rules, or when someone tells you what to do and doesn't give you too much of a choice, whether they're coming from a fake or honest concern, is still abusing power. And there's going to be consequences. Just like if you get out of those rules, and if you try to be too free, regardless of whether you step on other people's freedom, if you step on even the perversities or the satisfactions of rules that the government just, right nowadays, it's not even any kind of process of politics. There is just nobody participated in anything that got, let's say, the last 4 years. Who participated or agreed with anything that was build this, build nigh, the science guy? So we are living in a totally pure dictatorship. So this is where you have to see you're delusional, and you have strong hallucinations that you're living in a free, happy world, because nobody nurtures, nobody gives you support. People give you a minimal illusion of support with a lot of control, a lot of pushing medication, a lot of pushing paperwork that judge you and punish you, judge, jury, and executioners before you even have a chance to show your case, even to the minimum. You don't even, they bring you in front of a judge, they give you a lawyer. But at this, I'm speaking in general, if you had an experience with, unless you're rich and you're like, and they even show it on Seinfeld like a joke with other things, what happened with O.J. Simpson. And it's like, come on. Only O.J. Simpson shows an extreme, but that's how it goes. If you don't have a lot of money, you have no chance. They keep lying to you and calling you and lying about their narrative, regardless of the evidence, regardless of what you have on video, regardless of what you are calm. They'll twist the calmness into a perversion, or like you try to pretend you're calm or that you're in control. If you see what I see, especially coming from my life, since I've had so many people try to discredit me, and I'm sure these videos were, I don't know if they could be twisted, but hey, if Jesus could be put on a cross and Gandhi shot for doing good things, you could see how easily Jesus is a good person, but why was he crucified? Because nobody, I think, that's not really dedicating their body and soul into spiritual progress can accept truth. The truth shall set you free. If you're not already so trapped, it's like saying if you have so many arrows in you that technically they haven't killed you yet, but if you pull them out with that, that arrow type, that triangular or triangular shape, it's going to rip out half your body, and if it pulls out into a vein, you die. That's what most people, and it's a cruel way or a harsh way to visualize how I feel people that are entrapped in their narcissism and even psychopathic tendencies, because I'm reaching to the point, not only am I telling government that you're doing something wrong, you're reaching psychopathic tendencies in laws. Because if people, again, and I keep harping on Bill C-63, because there's going to be worse than that, it really infringes upon sanity. And when you judge people on mental health, people see that law, and especially the minority report type, that law goes, or bill, and if it becomes law, whatever, it goes beyond what's insane. And like I said, it was instantly applied to me. So you see how much coercion, how much people really just want to punish people and not help them. Like I said, I should be getting money, I should be getting compensation, of some kind, support, documents saying, no, you were right, we did this, we were wrong, any type. And because they think, well, whatever he says, we're going to say, he imagines it. And they, oh yeah, and I've seen it on paper now. So the insanity is big, and the mental health problem is big. But you know why it's dangerous and it's a bad thing, the mental health problem? Because it's not only in the people that are poor and stressed or had arguments in their family and that lost their job or can't work and have to depend on the government somehow, but it's on the heads of government, it's on the heads of the police department, as we've seen things proven even in Toronto recently. The corruption of people lying, it's not one government official, one office. People blame Trudeau, people blame this kind of, no, it's the system dynamic. We are a big gang. We are a government that does what the freak we want. And that will have consequences that are so big. I don't want to go back into repeating about karma and things. I mean, it's on every level. I saw when I made my karmic dish video. Police investigate, just like you investigate how to twist the truth. Investigate truth in and of itself. I didn't know where that energy was going to go when I put it out there, but it hit on everything that I lived. I was living danger from vehicles in that moment from a particular person. Even if it wasn't an immediate danger, it was a possible. You saw how many people got accidents. Another time I was stressed, and there was, and then there was a freaking, and it has to do with nature. A lot of times it was a storm, earthquakes I predicted. I don't want to say accidents, even with people that are close to me and family. And there's so much evidence that when you hurt a divine person, it's not a person you're hurting. You're hurting the whole dynamic of the structure. It's like if it's like the moon goes off balance or the sun gives off two geometry. If it would become more, if right now, we don't know if it shifted completely or fast. There's different theories on the earth shifting its pole, but it could cause cataclysms. So it's the same thing. I'm trying to say that the danger when someone hurts a spiritual person, they haven't been strongly documented. We don't know the details of what happened to the Roman army after which war. I haven't investigated, but I'm pretty sure the wars didn't go well because Rome was still trying to conquer the time they put Jesus on the cross, if we're to believe history. Because if the Bible is so changed and edited, how are we to believe what happened exactly? But I could tell you from experiential proof, and I'm trying not to dwell on me as an individual. I am dwelling me on some of the things I've mentioned now as me investigating another person, not going from a personalized point of view of testimony. I'm just saying, look, this happened to that person. It's Warlock Superman. Yeah. So he said this and this happened. He felt like that and that karmic thing happened. You could call it once or even twice some kind of coincidence. And coincidence technically does not exist. And even I think scientific research, look it up. I don't know. I haven't looked it up, but I know that coincidence is just an illusion. It's just a set of different polarities. Because if you look at it even now, right now there's a sporadic storm. Is it a coincidence? It's a coincidence to your point of view because you couldn't predict it. But the prediction was there. The winds were there forming, even though they formed and they changed faster on a whim. On someone setting a fire, it changes the temperature now. Where there's fires, changes the temperature of the clouds and can shift So whoever set that fire, accidentally or on purpose, would cause a shift, just the same as karma. You push that button, you feel the energy. It's almost like you go in a room. If you despise someone in a party, let's say a party setting, you despise someone and you lock eyes, you feel that that jolt, right? You have an attraction towards someone, it could bother you just as much. See, so repulsion and attraction distracts you from your inner being. That's why caring about too much about anything physical or the company of others will bring you down sooner or later. This is what I try to tell people. Good and evil are just different sides of the same coin, and it's harsh to say that, because that's why when I say which one in the war is at fault, both, if they're continuing to fight, if they don't give all their best, and once you've done it, then you leave it up to karma totally. Like me, I believe I've done more than enough to show that my intentions in Montreal are for peace and harmony. And I hope, sometimes I say, am I delusional for real when I see that on certain documents? But it's, again, just like when it says I'm dangerous, possibly, and I say, no, I am for sure dangerous, but not in the context of physical breaking laws or hurting others physically. Just in the fact that I shouldn't be hurt, so I have to deflect that energy. The physical one I can't, obviously, but whether it hurts me a lot physically or, you know what I mean, ends me, but that energy gets reflected, because that could be deflected. Just like if you look at someone's stare and they're staring at you in a negative way, there's so many techniques to deflect that, right? And not feel even bothered at all by it. The way you absorb it, the way you look back even, and if you try to challenge that, that's when you get the most stressed. But when you let it go through you and you send it back, or you don't even send it back, you just send it to the universe, then it goes back to that person, because, especially if their intent was to do harm. To do harm is not only an instinctual thing of 3D, it's a thing of energy. That's when I say I could have gone the curse or black magic way, but I couldn't even research it because it felt like just as disgusting of what people have done to me in Montreal. Disgusting, so much, and people think I'm exaggerating. No, I feel like throwing up sometimes, and yeah, sometimes it could be a cold or something I ate, but the general feeling that's saying, I shouldn't have lived that, I shouldn't be living what I'm living now, I should be in a polarized way, I should be having offers of money, apologies, from letters of saying, well, you know, from what we see, they make a little conclusion. Every big effort I make to prove to them I am not the person they're fabricating in their monstrous, narcissistic, manipulative delusions, they keep backing that up with more lies. But maybe they don't do it all the time on paper, but still the paper has been done, and they say, oh, you can't change that. No, I can't change the paper, but reality is what it is. You can't change reality with a paper. Some people say, oh, write this and then set it on fire, or do this, write this on paper and it will come true. You could do whatever you want. If you don't use the laws that, or the language that the universe understands, the intelligence of the universe obviously doesn't listen to us. If you say, son, have a whatever, a mag or whatever, have one of these ejections of fire or whatever, mass, you know. No, you can't cause that directly. So the best you can do is accept that part of you, the essence of what makes you feel life and experience the beauty and the suffering also. You could just, it's not about giving away your freedom or your individuality. It's about just feeling part of that deep, strong, spiritual community that has always been there. You have just not been paying attention. Just like when people say, are you listening or hearing? Hearing is one thing, listening is another thing. And speaking does not mean you're necessarily speaking from a point of frustration or therapeutic need. It means you're teaching. Most people that are even a modicum above their power center, about the heart center, if they're anywhere near the heart center or above, even temporarily, they have a need to just communicate truth. And truth comes in many, many forms and languages. You have to be willing to listen. Just like you listen, sometimes there's a dog barking, there's crickets, there's cicadas, and in certain areas of the States, I think, that are overwhelming. There's so many things in nature. You hear a buzz of a mosquito, you pay attention. Why can't you pay attention that everybody, through their eyes, are good people, even if they're having a bad day, even if they're stressed, even if they're not your religion, your gender, your creed, your nationality. Why can't the news, why can't government be so transparent and back that up? No, because that's how you know they're on a false narrative. They're on a manipulative narrative. They never admit to saying we can't take care of everybody, we can't make everybody happy on 3D, so we're going with what we like. If they would do that, at least then they would be closer to China or Russia. But then again, aren't we like Russia or China? A lot of people think so. I wish I was the only one believing that. But it's not a belief. I don't believe in anything. I just perceive. I just see what's happening, and it seems so polarized and so much conflict that everything is conflict. Everything. Continuously, people look to judge, jury, and execution you all in the same sentence or the same question. Do you do this? Do you have that? Who are you to ask any questions? Do I ask any questions of the people asking me questions at certain? You have no spiritual law backing up anything that's happening right now. Mostly, like I said in another video, I don't know, sometimes I don't put them all. Anything that's working on paper, that's working on laws, that's working on policies is like 80%, not even 75. I think it's more 80% all corrupt lies. Nothing is actually functioning for the good of other people. Maybe it has the illusion of being for the good of, like passing out food. Everything is for an illusion. Even helping people in a war, like right now, all the countries that voted to help the people dying and suffering, regardless of which area, of which war, Haiti, Ukraine, it's all not lies, but it's all done for a show. Because the wars right now that we see, the 3 or 4, there's 2 big ones that are really talked about, and I won't mention. So if you take any side, you're wrong. See? And if you just don't participate enough, it's like some people go a bit too far on the physical 3D of being compassionate and caring, and then they end up being killed, like martyrs in a way. But they made themselves to go into a war zone. You're asking for trouble. That's why physically, me, I don't look for trouble. That's why when it comes looking for me, even on 3D, then I have to deflect that. And like, I won't say whether I'm even allowed doing it physically to protect myself, but energetically, I have to do it to 1,000,000,000%, not 100%, and say, I don't know. I don't want war. I have no intentions of hurting people. I am perfectly clear and coherent on saying I want to promote peace and harmony, even from warring zones on the planet. So why would I look for trouble in my life? Is there any vibration in my wording that seems fake, lying? But that's why people lie, because they don't want to accept truth. Anybody that has accused me of anything is gonna have to pay that karma. And as much as I want to forgive and even forget, I cannot forget totally. Obviously, it's impossible, especially for a spiritual person, because I'm not naive. So I know that evil could be repeated. And that's why I put videos with always that potential. So people that know everything I said in other videos, if the videos are still there, unless they're taken down again, that means that crime could be reorganized. That's why I call it organized crime. And people only see that to labels the government given. I see that from my label. Organized crime is a terrible thing, and it's going on in 90% of world activities that are with politics, geopolitics, political economies. Everything is about controlling and punishing, and you have to follow into step with whatever the big honchos say. And sometimes they actually literally say it on the WEF that they want to control people. Oh, we couldn't. Look at Russell Brand, look at Joe Rogan. People have criticized them and have attacked them. I am not surprised. Anybody that's good will get attacked sooner or later. I know by experience. And it's sad, though, that it has to be that way. And maybe some people might be pushing for a change. People that are part of that narrative of hurting and controlling people. Some people might say maybe it's not the way to go. Maybe the price I have to pay with my health, or even in another life of suffering and not feeling that love that I seek in material goods, in another person's eyes. Yes, it's all wrong. Seeking pleasure from physical things that basically just delude us and give us the delusional happiness that it's that object that made us happy. That's the only big delusions that most people have.